Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. I'm your host, Nicole Sienna. I'm joined today by Hratch Jabrayan, CEO of Galloper Gold. Hi, Hratch. It's good to see you.
Hi, Nicole. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We have the line starting to fill up here on the stream. And for everyone who's new to the story, I wanted to do a little bit of a preamble before I hand it over. Galloper is advancing the Galloper Island Gold Project in Newfoundland, where it has secured control of the Lunch Pond South Extension, or the LPSE, as we will refer to it today, in the resource area. It's now focused on testing both resource growth and broader exploration upside. Now, before I hand things over to you for your corporate update, for everyone on the line, just a reminder, there is a question box on the side of the screen. After the update today, we'll go through some of those questions live. And if you are watching on the replay, please head over to the Galloper website where you can contact the company on their contact page. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to you and I'll come back at the end.
Thank you, Nicole. I appreciate that. Hello, everybody, and thank you for being with us today. I want to take the opportunity to provide an update on the progress we have made on our flagship property, Galloper Island, in the last several months since what we called our coming out party in January of this year. I have a few slides here with some information on the project. I believe a lot of you are familiar, obviously would have some familiarity with the project itself. So I will not focus too much on the asset itself. I will focus on the updates on the progress that we have made since January, February here. Forward-looking statements. This just tells you that not everything I say might be factual in the future, even though it is factual now. So please have a look at that later on. I think you're all familiar with Newfoundland. This is a map in Newfoundland here. We've spoken about this map many, many times. The reason this is very significant is because of the location of Galloper Island on the western part of Newfoundland. As you can see, that round golden circle there, which sits right on the Bayvert fault line, which we've spoken again about many, many times over, which runs north to south through Galloper Island, which obviously is part of the dunnage zone. The dunnage zone is a wide mineralized zone that goes north to south. It crosses right through Galloper Island. This is very significant because historically, the Bayvert fault line and the dunnage zone there has hosted or hosts 30 current and former operating gold and copper mines, including the historical Buckens deposit, which was mined in the 1930s. Some of the current operators, such as the Equinox multi-million ounce former Marathon discovery, which is only about 50 kilometers from where we are. And then the Hope Brook gold mine, obviously down south, Firefly to the north, and Maritime, and so on and so forth. So we sit on one of the richest, if not the richest, mineralized zones in Canada. This is just a quick overview of some of the things that have been achieved and are at hand at this point in time. So dominant mineralized package on Galloper Island, 116 square kilometers. As you know, in July of 2025, we were awarded the provincially held claim, which is the Lunch Pond South Extension, which had the historical 178,000 ounce resource on a stamped size plot of land on that, which is no longer historical, updated earlier this year, as you all know, 340,000 ounces over a 1 kilometer strike length, which gives us huge potential to expand on that resource. A very favorable geological setting, along as I've alluded to, the Bayvert-Brompton line. Targeted deposit types, structurally controlled orogenic and copper gold enriched VMS, and I'll talk about that more here shortly. Full power lines right through Galloper Island, so when it's time to mine, there are zero issues in having access to full power. And then, as I've mentioned already, the updated 43-101, which was completed in April of this year, and the updated technical report was released in May. What's proven? So right now, in a land package that is 116 square kilometers over a 1 kilometer strike length, we know we have 121,000 ounces indicated with a grade of 1.20 contained in 3 million tons. And then inferred, we have almost 220,000 ounces with a grade of 1.20 contained in almost 7 million ounces. So this is significant because of the potential it offers and the fact that this was based on 12,000 meters of drilling in 2012. Again, in a licensed area that is about 10 kilometers long, 9 kilometers long, and this resource is just situated in the 1 kilometer strike length. And that's not because the other areas of the license were explored and they didn't find anything. It's because they didn't do any drilling, significant drilling in the other parts of the license. This map shows you the one on the right, the colorful map shows you the red dots are where the historical resource is, where it was drilled in 2012. You can see the license outline in orange there, or red, depending on your screen colors, I guess. And then to the north, you will see some of the green dots, which is the Lucky Smoke area, where we drilled a couple of years ago, 6 holes and hit grades up to 18 grams per ton. Now, what's very, very interesting here is that there is about 6.5, 7 kilometers between Lucky Smoke, where we drilled up there to the north, and where the Lunch Pond South extension, the LPSE, is to the south. And the mineralization we have seen in between those two targets, up to 22 grams per ton surface trenching results. Very, very exciting opportunity. Look at this map as a slice of Swiss cheese. In between those two targets, we believe exists, because it's an orogenic setting, we believe exists multiple deposits, some probably potentially over 1 million ounces, some potentially a few 100,000 ounces. We are extremely confident that in between LPSE and Lucky Smoke, there is the potential for several million ounces. If we look at the 340,000 ounces over a 1 kilometer strike length, and we multiply that by the 6 or 7 kilometers that exist between the two zones here, simple math tells us, based on the simplest of approaches, that there is at least 2.5 million ounces just in that one section. So extremely positive, notwithstanding what the other areas of our licenses offer us. So current status and next steps. What's happened since January? We've talked about, obviously the market knows we raised money in January, and then we brought some additional flow through funds here, so we're fully cashed up to start the drill program. Right now, as we speak, full mobilization is in progress. I just returned from Newfoundland on Friday. The historical camp that was built in 2012 and was used at the time for the drill program was abandoned, was left behind. No major work was done on Galloper Island since 2012. So the camp, the island itself, it needs some love and care. We are in the process of completing that. I believe the market has already seen some pictures. We put out a news release last night, and recently we've shared some information on our social media pages. So the historical camp is being rehabilitated, new kitchen, sleeping quarters, bathroom, showers, chef's kitchen. Basically, we need to have it ready for the crew to stay there. New helipad and the core shed has been completed. Again, as you can appreciate, everything was abandoned 14 years ago, and it needed to be rebuilt. So all that has been completed. New power generators were just transported to Galloper Island last week. They are actually at the camp right now. ATVs. We need ATVs to get around on the island. This is a massive, massive island. That's 178 square kilometers, 36 kilometers long, and 6 kilometers wide. So ATVs are already on the island to support transportation. While we were doing all this, on top of what we did last year, we went out for the RFP for drilling contractor. That has been completed. We have multiple bids, we have multiple offers, and obviously that's been that has already been looked at. The finalists have been approached, and we are in the final stages of completing what needs to be done to get the actual drilling to commence. So as you can see there, drilling to commence upon completion of the camp rehab work. I anticipate that will be sooner rather than later. Again, as you can appreciate, the island needed some love and care. It's taken a little bit longer, but I would venture to say I want everything completed before we commence drilling. It reduces cost immensely. We don't want the helicopter going back and forth on a daily basis. The cost of that is extremely too high. So we'll complete the camp, put a full rotation in place, fully staffed. That way, we are going to be saving about 30 to 35% on our drilling costs and save about $250,000 in helicopter expenses on a monthly basis. So we're going to bring a lot more value to the dollars, and I want to see those dollars going into the ground and being spent on actual drilling. Up to 7,000 meters of drilling targeted for 2026, 25-30 holes at Lucky Smoke and Lunch Pond South Extension. We feel very strongly about Lucky Smoke also, so we're going to start putting some holes there. If you look at the map of Galloper Island, the wharf is on the northern part of the island, and from mainland, when the barge arrives at the wharf, it's on the northern side. And there's quite a bit of trek that you have to make. So the excavator actually is going to Galloper Island, I believe, maybe today, to fix up the roads a little bit. That way, when we use the boat or the barge to the northern wharf, we have clean and easy access first to Lunch Pond, and then Lucky Smoke, and then the LPSE, which, as I mentioned earlier, is about 6-7 kilometers south of Lucky Smoke. So that's kind of an update on exactly what is happening right now. I had anticipated that we would have started drilling this past week. However, there are some deliverables that, as I alluded to earlier, we want to make sure it's completed, because over the next several months, it will save us a huge amount of money, and I want to see those dollars go into the ground to bring more value to Galloper Gold and obviously its shareholders. We have just completed a investor engagement targeted plan, roadshows, let's call them. I spent quite a bit of time targeting investors of the Canadian junior sector in New York, London, Zurich, Philadelphia, Toronto, Atlanta, Halifax, New York again, Toronto again. And we have engaged with about 220 to 230 high net worth individuals, family offices who are now aware of the story. We have seen some buying recently, and obviously I believe that will continue to support our market cap as we start the drill program here very, very shortly. Here are a couple of pictures from Galloper Island. Top right is an overview of the camp, almost completed. You can actually see the crew there working. In the middle there, you see the helicopter dropping the ATV on Galloper Island. On the right is a picture of the sleeping quarters that are being fixed up, cleaned up. As you can see there, as you can appreciate, there was a lot of mold. There was a lot of, it was run down. So it's being fixed up. By the way, rehabbing the old camp is saving us well over $600,000-$700,000. And obviously, again, those are dollars that will go into the ground. So a new camp was going to cost us a lot more. Maybe it was a little faster. However, fixing up the old camp just brings a lot more value to the company long term here. And from our perspective, it's not going to really matter if we start drilling a week earlier or a week later. The whole program will get in. And the concept is that results driven, market cap appreciation. This camp, by the way, is being winterized. So this camp is being winterized, and we are going to be able to continue to drill over the winter months also. So we anticipate that even though we've announced a potentially up to 7,000 meter drill program, all things being equal, knowing the results that we will get from the drill results, I anticipate that the goal will be here not to stop drilling and continue to drill over the winter months and continue right into 2027. Bottom left, you'll see the helipad there with some of the construction material. That picture is about 10 days old, maybe 15 days old. So a lot more progress since then. And then the middle picture at the bottom there is one of the power generators that was being prepared. Just some catalysts. This is from our corporate presentation. So, Q1, we've done the mineral resource update. So we've gone from 178,000 ounces to 340,000 ounces, all open pit. This is not counting the underground potential, which, by the way, was included in the previous 43-101. So we right now have 340,000 ounces in a stamp-sized area, open pit only. Push the pit down a little bit, 280 meters. So easily accessible, much cheaper to mine, obviously, gold at surface, readily available for us. Q2 technical report, obviously it was ready and it was released in May. Q3 here, obviously the drill program. We're targeting the exploration drilling program at Lucky Smoke and Lunch Pond. And, the results will be released, assay results, obviously, shortly to follow after that in Q3 here. And then late this year, we'll see how things are going, whether we do an updated MRE, we don't, we just continue. Time will be a deciding factor on that. Results will be a deciding factor on that. But based on the discussions I've had with our exploration team, with our VP of exploration, our exploration manager, we are extremely excited. I personally, based on my research on Galloper Island and the last couple of years, I'm fully convinced that Galloper Island has a multi-million ounce resource. It just needs some love and care. And as you can appreciate, the only way to expand the resource and discover additional deposits is by drilling, which we are starting to do right now. This will be the first major drill program on Galloper Island since 2012, and the first major drill program that Galloper Gold has undertaken. Our share structure, if you've been following us, you know what our share structure looked like. 175 million fully diluted. Issued and outstanding, we are at 119 million shares. That includes the recent 18 million shares that were issued for the flow-through funds, which obviously are on hold for the next 3.5 months. It also includes the 41 million shares that have come free trading here in June that were issued as part of the raise in January, February of this year. Stock options, 9 million out there. Some are to contractors, mostly management. The CEO, myself, I hold 3 million of those stock options. And then with the warrants, we have about 46 million out there. 5 million of those are at 15 cents, which expire mid-July. So I'm not sure what's going to happen with those. We'll see how the market is reacting to us over the next few weeks. And then 41 million strike price at 9 cents. Those expire in February of 2029. So fully diluted, 175 million shares. And obviously TSX listed DPM Metals is our largest shareholder with approximately 10% of all outstanding shares. Why invest in Galloper? I've told you the story. You've heard the story from me many times. You now have the update. Proven resource, 340,000 ounces, 43-101, with significant growth potential. The right timing. Gold prices were at a record high. A struggle recently. Probably a lot to do with the current geopolitical situation around the world. Lucky Smoke is emerging as a discovery plus. We think there's a lot more where we hit that 18 grams per ton at Lucky Smoke. and some of the additional work we've done there, we think there's something special happening at Lucky Smoke. Very tight structure, as we just spoke about, and then the near-term catalysts and the potential we've spoken about. We are trading at $7 per ounce of indicated gold in the ground. A recent study that we did shows that the average is between $100 to $200 per ounce of gold in the ground. So we are extremely undervalued, and there's a reason for that. Gold ETF is down about 40% since February. About 30 comparable and much larger companies that we have looked at over the last month, down 33 to 70% because of what's happening globally. Having said that, again, $7 per ounce of gold in the ground, indicated ounce of gold in the ground, is extremely undervalued. Realistically, we should be at least in the $50 range per ounce of indicated gold in the ground. Having said that, our story is just starting to get out. We're just going to start drilling, so it's fully funded for the commencement of the drill program. So we're extremely excited about the potential that we are offering here. With that, I will end the presentation component. You can see my contact info there. I am always reachable at hratch@gallopergold.com. Please send me an email if you have any questions, and I will certainly get back to you. With that, I am going to turn it over to the host, I believe, to take some questions.
Yes, perfect. Thank you so much for that update. I do want to start by talking about your land package a little bit. You've talked about the scale of the land and all the improvements that you're making, power generators, camp rehab, love and care, as you described it. Does this remote setting impact any future development, or after all of this is done, do you feel like you're fully set up for all your announced plans?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. I think we're fully set up for our plans. A remote location actually works in our favor because, one, we are isolated and we are not affecting anybody's livelihood. The closest towns to us are Deer Lake, 28 kilometers away, and Corner Brook, I believe, 32 kilometers away. Nobody lives on Galloper Island. It's an uninhabited island. Some black bears we have seen, some moose we have seen. So no environmental issues, easy access. Working on Galloper Island is really no different than working in a isolated environment on mainland. In the past, I've worked in camp environments where the closest town to us was 200 kilometers away. So very, very similar. You're either driving by car for 3-4 hours, or you're using a barge for 3-4 hours to get to Galloper Island, or using a helicopter if you have to for a 20-minute flight from Deer Lake. Longer term, the option will be available to us to use seaplanes, which are much, much cheaper to do rotations. So extremely excited about the opportunity that Galloper Island offers us.
Now, drilling is expected really shortly. I know you were hoping for a shorter time frame. What does this next phase of drilling need to prove to convert the inferred ounces into your indicated?
As I alluded to, I would have liked to have started drilling by now, but there are some things sometimes that are out of our control. And again, if it means drilling starting 2 weeks later than anticipated, but it's going to save us $600,000-$700,000, that's well worth money that's going to go into the ground. We'll start drilling at Lucky Smoke to focus on some of the high-grade areas we have identified, which we believe is going to bring a lot of value as we continue to fix the roads down to the Lunch Pond South Extension area. Eventually, we'll go down there. So the focus of the drilling will be 70% on resource expansion at the LPSC and about 30% on the drill targets we have identified in between and at Lucky Smoke. In regards to Lunch Pond South extension, I firmly believe that short term, we'll focus on a resource expansion, and then after that, we can definitely look at some definition drilling that we'll make. As I alluded to earlier, look at this 7 kilometers strike area in between Lucky Smoke and Lunch Pond as Swiss cheese. There's a lot of areas there that probably hosts at least 1 million ounces or several 100,000 ounces. There will be some areas that we won't find anything, but that's how it is. But what we're calling the Galloper corridor in between Lucky Smoke and Lunch Pond South Extension is going to bring us, in my estimation, in the short term, a lot more indicated ounces. In the midterm, at least the target area will be 1 million ounces, and then the longer term, over 4 or 5 years, a multi-million ounce resource indicated. And
so the last known 43-101 was using 2017 values. That's been revised. How does today's resource compare to that historic model, and how much of it is being validated with geology versus that stronger gold price we're seeing today?
Yeah, so gold in 2017, gold prices used in 2017 were $1,210 for the 178,000 ounces. However, as I mentioned, 120,000 of those ounces were underground. So the new resource model, the 341,000 ounces, does not include the underground model. It is just open pit. We did push down the pit bottom a little bit. So the geology basically encompasses everything that's available for open pit potential. And obviously gold prices being where they are, P&E Mining Engineering decided to use the $3,500 gold value for the current resource. So both geology and obviously the current valuation of gold had a contributing factor, but it's very key to remember that historical drilling in 2012 stopped in mineralization at depth. So that means if we wanted to in the future to drill deeper and explore the potential of an underground mine in the future, that is there above and beyond the resource we are presenting and pursuing right now.
We got a question from Terrence on the further upside on the topic of new regional targets. How much pre-drilling work has been done by you and others? When will the targets be identified? And what kind of targets are we looking for?
Targets have already identified. The guys have been working on Galloper Island for the last several years, obviously. Just because we haven't done any drilling since September, October of 2014, it doesn't mean, 2024, it doesn't mean there was no work done. So a lot of trenching work, a lot of geophysic work was done on Galloper Island. The targets have been identified in various locations around Lucky Smoke, outside of the LPSE, and that's, the Galloper corridor that we're calling. So the high grade areas have been identified. As I mentioned, some of the trenching work returned 22 grams per ton at surface. So taking into consideration the deposit type that we have, and the fact that the 340,000 ounces are over that one stamped size area, there's a lot to be had at surface. So very shallow depth. So we are definitely going to, as I mentioned, 70% resource expansion, 30% the additional targets in between Lucky Smoke and Lunch Pond South Extension.
So you mentioned you are fully funded for this campaign. Can you just dive into a little bit about how you're allocating this drill program between LPSE, Lucky Smoke, and the regional targets that Terrence was alluding to?
I do want to clarify that we are fully funded for the commencement and the progress of the drill program. However, if we are going to make this a much bigger drill program, then we're definitely not fully funded for it. So I want to make sure the market understands that you continuously have to bring in cash to continue drilling. So my intention is, even though we've announced a up to 7,000 meter drill program, we don't want to stop at 7,000 meters. We think there's a lot to be had. And my goal is basically in the next year and a half, 2 years, to bring 1 million ounces to the market. For me to be able to do that, I need to drill, 35, 40,000 meters over the next 2 years. That's very aggressive, but that's how resources are discovered. That's how substantial discoveries are made, by drilling. The moment you stop drilling, you lose momentum. You got to shut down, get prepared again for the following year. Additional cost for mobilization, additional cost for ramp up. So the ideal situation is we start drilling, we continue to grow the company organically, we release the results we know we are going to get, and continue to build upon that. So having said that, with that, Once mobilization is out of the way, our cost per meter of drilling is extremely reasonable, very comparable to mainland, taking into consideration that we are on an island in an isolated environment. We'll focus 70% with the resource expansion and 30% for the short term. This is the short term. 30% will focus on the targets we have identified. Now, once drilling continues as per the plan that we want, where we want to see additional massive drilling over the next couple of years, 2.5 years over Galloper Island, then you're looking at multiple rigs, much more potential and quicker resource expansion and newer discoveries.
Are you going to be looking for anything specific to justify raising more capital?
Well, I think Galloper Island will give us the answer to that. The results we are expecting that Galloper Island will give us in the areas that we have targeted. It's no secret that we are a micro cap right now. Again, the market doesn't appreciate what Galloper Island has to offer. I have never seen a 340,000 ounce resource micro cap company. Again, $7 per ounce of indicated gold in the ground. That should be at least in the $50 range. So when we see share appreciation, market cap appreciation with the drill results that we anticipate getting, it's a no-brainer that we would be targeting additional funds to continue the drill program. Whether we target flow-through funds, charity flow-through, I think time will tell on that. But in the short term, we are all cashed up from a G&A perspective for the next year. So I don't anticipate raising any funds for G&A or marketing until at least March, April of next year.
Well, speaking to the validity of everything, Dundee, DPM, they did invest a substantial amount of money into the company. Their COO sitting on your board. How do you see this relationship playing out? And is there credibility, or are you seeing it as a path to strategic partnerships?
Well, I would say there is definitely credibility there. Dr. Garkov, who sits on our board, who's the COO of DPM Metals, in my opinion, he's probably most brilliant mining mind I have ever seen globally. I've known him for 20 years. I have worked on several projects with him. And throughout my 25 years in mining, I have met some brilliant people, and Dr. Garkov is right up there. And I would venture to say, he wouldn't lend his name to something that potentially was not credible and factually driven. So, there's definitely that factor. In regards to DPM owning 10% of our shares, there is a relationship there. Obviously, the market knows that I worked for DPM for many years. I am a huge supporter of DPM because I think they're one of the most well-managed organizations globally. I have seen their assets overseas, all of their assets, and they are extremely well run. And I think the market has seen what they have been able to do over the last 10, 15 years. Actually, even from their founding days in the 90s by Ned Goodman, so the Goodman family. So I think there's a lot of credibility there. When you are dealing with an organization that has a $10-13 billion market cap, they are the ones who dictate terms, and they have been very, very favorable to us, I believe, because of what we have been able to do in the last year and a half with Galloper Island and Galloper Gold. So I look at that relationship as a very, very positive one for Galloper Gold.
So we hopefully have some new investors on the line here, or we will get some new investors looking at your name after this today. And we know that the company's located in a safe jurisdiction here in Canada, one that's known for exploration from past decades, right? I guess, what can you tell the investors that are on the line and coming to your story fresh? What is the clearest valuation advantage of looking further into your name?
Yeah, so Newfoundland, top 10 mining jurisdiction in the world, very, very underexplored. If we look at Newfoundland, this is a huge mass of land, right? It's bigger than a lot of countries in the world, Yet only 550,000 people live in Newfoundland and Labrador. So what that tells you is that the potential that Newfoundland has to offer has not even been touched at surface yet. Marathon, Valentine to their credit, and Equinox obviously now, 7.9 million ounces on that one property. They're probably going to end up with 10 million ounces. I don't know. I mean, that's how attractive that property is. Again, on the dunnage zone, only 50 kilometers away from us, very similar mineralization. So the potential, and NFG is doing great work. Firefly is doing fantastic work. So all these companies that have invested and have had success in Newfoundland. Now, this is a credit to the fact that Newfoundland has a very, very favorable mining, government. We have seen a very, very pro-mining approach from our contacts in the government of Newfoundland. Very, very supportive. They want to see the mining sector succeed there. They appreciate that, again, it's very undervalued, it's very underdeveloped, underexplored, and the more eyes we can bring to Glover Island, the more we can turn it into the next mining hub globally. And I firmly believe in that, because I have spent quite a bit of time in Newfoundland, going back 20 years with Voisey's Bay Nickel Company, when I used to visit there for some work that I did with them back in the day. So extremely excited. Again, top 10 mining jurisdiction, favorable environment, mining friendly government, very broad thinking approach to the mining sector, and some recent success stories that I have alluded to already going into market caps of multi-million dollars because of the work they have done in Newfoundland.
That was a great summary and an awesome wrap up. Thank you again for joining me today. And for everyone watching live on the stream, thank you for your questions and your participation. Just a reminder for everybody, the replay will be available online shortly, so please keep an eye open for that. And most of all, if and when you want to hear more from the company, please head over to their website. You can subscribe to their mailing list, follow them on social, and head over to the contact page to contact Hratch directly. Thank you again for joining us, and we'll see you again soon.